Alright, so here's the audience. Right here. Alright. So, the American Heart Association says that there are at least 383,000 cardiac arrests each year outside of the home, and only 30% of those individuals receive CPR. Most cases of cardiac arrest occur outside of the home rather than in the hospital. Students in high school should be required to learn and demonstrate CPR before high school graduation. Everyone in this room, you may or may not have learned CPR in school, and if you don't know, don't you wish you could learn or would have learned in high school? Maybe your job offers a raise, or it's required before you can even start a job. So the main points of my speech will go as follows. The problem is that people who are in cardiac arrest are not receiving CPR or the proper CPR techniques from bystanders. The solution is to make it a requirement in all high schools in America before graduation to provide proper training and knowledge on when and how to perform CPR. My call to action is to ask and encourage your school to implement full CPR training to all high school students before they graduate. So here in America, we have a problem and high risk of cardiac arrest due to our diets and things we choose to do. The problem that we have here is that when a person is in cardiac arrest, most oftentimes they do not receive the CPR from a bystander. On the American Heart Association website, it gives some statistics on cardiac arrest and CPR. 475,000 Americans die from cardiac arrest in 1 year. More than 350,000 of these instances occur outside of the hospital. 90% of the people who are in cardiac arrest out of the hospital die because they did not receive the CPR they needed, or they did, but it wasn't effective. When CPR is administered, the chances of survival double or even triple. Now that's an amazing statistic. An article in the Orlando Centennial states that when the heart stops, the chances of living drop 7 to 10% each minute that passes by. And that's really scary to think about. Every minute that goes by, it's dropping very rapidly. A problem that many states and schools are facing are having the funds to get the training and materials to do so. In an article on Impulse CPR website, it states that in Nevada, CPR and AED training is only available if the funds are available. Now, how can this be prevented? Think about that. On the Surefire CPR website, as of December 2016, 36 of the 50 states have implemented CPR training as a high school graduation requirement. And now, as of 2018, that number is up to 38 out of the 50 states in America. This should never be the case when it comes to saving a life because of not having the funds or the proper training. This should be available to everyone. So here is a possible solution. You can have the local EMS or fire crew come into your school and volunteer to teach the students CPR. You can, here at Cary High School in Idaho, the local EMS and fire crew come in and volunteer their time to teach the students in high school how to do hands-only CPR. Instead of doing with the two breaths, they just do hands-only. They bring all the materials that they need from their personal stuff that they use to train so that the schools don't have to buy all new equipment or anything for the CPR training. They bring that for themselves, for us to use. And because it is only CPR and hands-only CPR, the students will not become certified in this because they didn't do the full training of the CPR with the breath, but they still will have the proper knowledge on how to perform CPR in a situation of cardiac arrest. Since the EMS and fire crew are all volunteers, this means that there are no funds needed to bring them in to teach the students. They just volunteer their time. This can save the school money, and it also prepares the students for when they graduate high school that they are prepared to administer CPR when needed. This has helped the students at Cary High School feel much more confident in this skill. For me, that is very true. And knowing that they had the proper training from people who perform CPR on a regular basis made them that much more confident that they were able to do such a thing. Here, as a society in America, we can make this change. You can ask your school many questions. You can talk to your principal or advisor or teachers, health teacher, whatever. Ask them questions and advice onto why the school needs to offer this in every single high school in America. You can ask them if CPR training is offered at your school as a requirement before graduation. If it's not, you should really encourage them and give them the statistics that I just gave you to ask why the lack of CPR knowledge is a problem. By doing this, you'll get their minds moving and see that students are interested in learning this and want to become part of their school curriculum. Then you can ask the local EMS and fire crew if they would volunteer their time to come in and teach the high school students CPR. They are very kind people, and they would be more than happy to volunteer their time for students. In the American Heart Association journals, they ask that when schools decide to teach students CPR, that they should include the following trainings: recognition of the emergency, providing high-quality chest compressions, and skills practice. Now, to go over what we have just learned in my speech. We have learned the statistics of when CPR is administered and when it is not, and the chances of survival. We have come up with a solution on what our local EMS crew can do to help us implement this into our schools, and how we can get the schools on board to help us learn CPR. Let us come together and make CPR a requirement before high school graduation, as this will help save lives. Thank you. All right, let's pan the audience. We're all here.